Hi, how are you?
I'm good.
Um, I want to first say I am delighted with you keeping Andre's story alive.
Thank you.
And yes, ma'am. I don't want to say who I am, but I've been following this case since the very beginning. And I don't know what you've covered or not covered. Again, I'm very new to you. I just want to share some things, and I will say allegedly for the sake of your show, and I'm extremely respectful. Um, I want to say I've had conversations with Tim Norman. I've known him quite a while. I'm not from St. Louis, but I've had conversations with him dealing with business. I'll say that, and platonic, not a personal friendship, just platonic conversations, very innocent platonic conversations. Um, and I've always was weary of him, of his character, but I would always push it away because I don't like to tend to think negative or bad of a person. So you always I'll always give a person the benefit of doubt, right? There were some red flags regarding Timothy, in my opinion, with our conversations. I'll say that.
And let me say, as you can
Um,
see, ma'am, hold on. To everyone, as you can see the
yes,
ticker
ma'am.
scrolling, the views of the callers, as well as anyone that joins the panel, are their views and not necessarily the views of the channel holder, content creator, which would be me. Go ahead, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Sorry.
No problem.
And yes, ma'am. And so when Andre was murdered, I red flags, flew up. First, it was very disheartening and sad for um, that child to get murdered the way he did, in my opinion. And so I started doing some researching, and this is before any YouTuber or anyone, took on with researching what was going on or what could have possibly happened to Andre. And I'm not going to go into full detail, but there were a lot of red flags.
Okay, ma'am. I don't want to. I
So
don't mean to stop you, but hold on. I think this. Just hold on 1 second. Don't hang up. I think this is gonna be Jay.
Yeah, this is
Okay.
Jay
All
Field,
right. Okay.
calling from Los Angeles.
Okay. Hold on. Let me let the lady finish, and then we'll get back to you, Jay. But I didn't want to lose. I didn't want to lose either of you guys. Okay, ma'am. I'm sorry. Now go
yes,
ahead.
ma'am.
Continue, and then Jay will go after you. Go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. And so I wanted to say that I'm gonna say allegedly, but I always keep receipts. I have the proof. I'm going to say allegedly, for the sake of respect out of your platform. Um,
Thank you.
Allegedly. Yes, ma'am. Oh, yes, ma'am. So I had some, I'm going to say this. When the child Andre was murdered, I will say that it was already speculation of, in my opinion, one of the siblings, a couple of the siblings of Andre, and some family members of who they suspected hurt that child before before the investigation. Because Andre had shared some things allegedly with his family when he returned back home of how he was treated and things that were going on behind the scenes that a lot of people were not privy to. And I do have receipts, but I would still say allegedly,
Thank you.
out of respect for your platform. Yes, ma'am. And so I do know that, siblings of Andre were questioning me that, allegedly they had a feeling that Tim did something to Andre. And I have receipts, and there was a point when the funeral happened, and allegedly, from a couple of the siblings and family members of Andre, red flags were brought up, or were came up with them because someone came with a bodyguard, and that was like, why would they come with a bodyguard to something, for Andre? And Tim was very standoffish, allegedly, according to some family members and siblings. But they knew deep down inside that Tim allegedly had done some harm to Andre. I will say that. So, God sits up high, looks down low, and so, whatever shall be for him, and I'll say allegedly for harming and being a part of harming his nephew.
Right. And I know the sister did post something on Facebook that was out there. She did.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. A lot of people had reached out to me. I'm not going to say these content creators' names before the siblings even said anything, because I was probably the only one with privy to that information, other than immediate family members. But a lot of bloggers had reached out to me for that information, but out of respect, I did not want to give any names because I'm respectful of, the situation and the family. Because it was another content creator that started covering this story as well. And also, the conversations that me and Tim, platonic conversations we would have, it would be about business. And I remember he invited me to a pool party that he was having. And something like stood, you have an intuition, and it was like, no, I don't think you should go, but I didn't answer him right off, I waited to see if that bad feeling that I was having would pass. Because again, I don't like having, bad feelings about people.
What state were you? What state was this
I declined.
in? What state was that in?
That's when he bought another house, because I know the house that he had when he was in Houston, he had a pool party there, and then that was when they had the restaurant, and they moved to Memphis. And I want to say when he also went off or disrespected Janae, I was privy that he was going to go off on her, because I was having conversations with him prior to him uploading that video. Like, we were like in the midst of having conversations, and the next thing I know, he uploaded the video, and I was like, OMG.
Well, I don't think it was a video. He went live on Instagram. It wasn't a video.
What he saved the live. Well, it went. The live that he went on, it was saved. I guess that's what I mean.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And so we were having conversations, and then the next thing I know, that's when it hit. I was like, oh my God, I thought this was going to stay behind the scenes.
So you were in Texas with him, because you say he had bought another house in Houston. So you were in Texas that's when he was working at the restaurant in Houston, right? Is when you knew him?
But allegedly that restaurant, from him, allegedly that restaurant was not open every day. It was only open for events, like if people came there, because there were a lot of complaints regarding that particular restaurant.
Yeah, people have employees have called in. So you're saying that you were a friend of Tim's and associates of Tim's, right? Pretty much.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay.
It was a lot of complaints about that particular restaurant. So
right. Yeah, that's what Charles even said that too. He said something like that too. Once upon a time about that restaurant. And a couple of other people have called in. So I appreciate you calling in, ma'am. I really do. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.